Do you think it's right that a milk farmer should be guaranteed profits by the rest of the Canadian taxpayers?
It's not.
That cheese should be 3 times more expensive? That my pizza should cost me $4 more than it does in Vermont?
Welcome to the Lang & O'Leary Exchange. I'm Amanda Lang.
And I'm Mr. Wonderful.
In his own mind. My interview with the German ambassador to Canada on the value behind the deal. Plus, the CEO of Air Canada on how the company defied the skeptics and slashed costs to push up profit and the stock. And how low fast food wages are costing all Americans. The author of a new study says taxpayers compensate with almost $6,000 per employee. That's all ahead. Now they move on to the dotting of the I's, crossing of the T's, all the legal language that has to go into this thing.
There's no bad news for Canadians. It's all good news for every single sector, including the uncompetitive dairy industry, which will finally have to raise the bar and start to compete. You know, I saw an incredible quote yesterday in the Globe and Mail. I'll give them credit for it. A milk farmer and cheesemaker saying, oh no, they're going to bring really good cheese into this country. They've had 100 years to perfect. How are we supposed to compete against that? I'm a Canadian. I want the good cheese.
Yeah, you do.
There will be winners and losers, but
there
in aggregate,
winners and losers.
And in aggregate, the Canadian economy will benefit, and that's all I care about.
Well, okay, but
don't cry me a river about some milk guy in Quebec. I couldn't care less.
Okay, let's deal in the realm of real world stuff. What you do is create also labor arbitrage, and if one of the players has markedly lower wages, as does Mexico,
I've got very good news.
You find that you will have a labor arbitrage that forces your wages down. So
what? Well, you want lower labor costs. That improves profits and makes shareholders money.
It doesn't actually do much for the worker who's now making less
Amanda,
permanently.
if you can't compete, whether you're a worker, a company, or a government, you go out of business.
What I'm asking you,
point, I have to make an extreme point so I can beat it into your head.
No, I want you to
acknowledge. We are one big milk board, and now that's over.
Listen, a lot will change in our country. By the way, the dairy boards are staying in place. They're not
Don't
worry,
we are
they're facing a little bit more competition today, but only a tiny bit.
When I'm finished with the unions, I'm going after the milk boards.
I want you just to acknowledge that you can get gains that you would say are for all that do actually have long-term consequences.
You think it's right that a milk farmer should be guaranteed profits by the rest of the Canadian taxpayers?
It's not.
That cheese should be 3 times more expensive? That my pizza should cost me $4 more than it does in Vermont?
Many people agree that the marketing boards are outdated and need to go.
And we must crush them out of existence.
We should always hasten to add that agricultural subsidies are a universal thing. They exist in every developed nation.
And they
They're not
don't
good.
work for anybody.
They're not good for anybody except the local economy around the farming community, and that is important to some.
Instead of whining, why don't you celebrate the fact that we can sell beef? We can sell beef to 600 million Europeans.
There are plenty of opportunities in this deal. So a lot of Canadian business can now access that market. There will be a lot more. And as it was noted yesterday on this show,
you don't have to worry about anything else.
Services is something we do well, and services is something that we can take to this giant European economy. This is all the good news.
So there's no bad news.
All I'm saying is
zero bad news.
There are sometimes structural losers, and for you to say everybody wins means that you don't understand how it all works, and then it undermines your argument in favor of trade. That's all. You can be pro-trade while seeing that it's not all rosy.
Am I going to get a word in edgewise today?
I don't know. I'm feeling like I should just keep talking.
The bottom line is what happens, and why this enhances the Canadian economy is very simple. The losers, the subsidized sections, the ones that couldn't exist without government subsidies, like these cheese guys, get ferreted out. They actually retard productivity in this country. They go out of business, good.
Well, again,
they go out of business because they're not competitive. And then the competitive cheesemakers come in. I'm speaking now sectorally.
Yes.
Because we have competition, and now we have a trade agreement with a great maker of cheese.
I must say, for the last 3 days, I've been dying to say, blessed be the cheesemakers.
I'm telling you, unless they make really good cheese, they'll go out of business. That means all the cheese gets better, and the productivity of Canada gets better.
We don't
This is a great deal.
I wish that you didn't see the world in such simple terms. You say subsidized industries are losers.
They are losers.
NASA is a subsidized. We wouldn't have a national railway if the government hadn't paid for it.
I don't want to
subsidize because it makes sense for you.
No, it doesn't make sense. Remember you promised me all those jobs at GM, the ones that are moving to Mexico now, the ones that I paid hundreds of millions of dollars for. I got screwed.
Well,
I don't want to subsidize like that anymore.
If I were in charge, they wouldn't be moving. Let me put it that way.
Oh, then you would have forced them to stay.
Yes.
Okay, but the point was
in exchange for the money I gave them, I would have forced them to stay.
You gave them money and you got screwed. I told you it was a bad deal.
Well, I wasn't there actually, right? So
you were there and you were waving the flag for the jobs.
If I had been there, I would have done a better job of making the jobs stay.
It would have been cheaper to give every one of those people $180,000.
You didn't calculate
Yes,
that.
I did.
No, it's not.
It would have been half what we paid them.
It's a made-up thing because that's not how this works.
That's how it works, because now they're out of work again.
What about the 10 jobs that are behind every auto sector job that would disappear if that one job
You
disappeared?
mean those 10 jobs that are going to Mexico too?
No, the 10 jobs that are spin-off jobs that we don't know what's going to happen to them.
I guess if
agree.
they'll spin all the way to Mexico with the jobs that left.
Bit of a disaster. Let's hear Jerry Ritz, the Minister of Agriculture, today talking about CETA.
Well, personally, I don't think there will be any hurt. We will certainly look at compensation to keep them whole.
So that's one thing that you'll love, is if there is pain to the cheesemakers, they will get some compensation.
No, they shouldn't get any compensation. They've been compensated too much for years. If that guy gives them a dime, I'm litigating.